Baseplan Presents video features how to improve your response times for equipment breakdowns, focusing on the following areas: reducing time and errors in collecting equipment and customer information, alerts on warranty, existing breakdowns and upcoming service schedules, allocating the correct technician based upon the skills required, visibility on unallocated and work in progress service jobs, insights into metrics for your service team.
I'm currently logged into an instance of Baseplan Enterprise. And before we kick off this session, I really want to talk about what I mean by improving response times. So let's say that you're a rental company and you have put a piece of machinery out on rent to a particular customer, and that customer is using the machine and it's broken down for whatever reason, or they're having issues with the machine. So they call up your branch and they have reported a breakdown. So it's how fast can your business respond to that query to ensure that that machine is now operational again. So it's trying to improve the time it takes to respond to those queries. You might also be a business that has sold a piece of machinery to a customer and they might be reporting a breakdown, or maybe they're even trying to schedule some maintenance in the future. So how fast can I respond to those queries and plan them in the future? So the way that we're going to do this is by using a screen called Service Calls. So I can go to the Equipment Management module and go to Service Calls. And the best way to really figure out who the customer is and where the machine is by talking to the customer about what the machine is that's broken down. And you might talk to them and say, can you please read out the number on the side of the machine? Do you have your rental contract? Can you please give me some idea about what the machine is that's broken down essentially? So when I click on Add New, we can see here that it highlights on the equipment code automatically. So I can actually start typing in here the number that the customer is reading out on the side of the machine potentially. So EX5001, for example. And when I hit enter, straight away it's going to look at that profile for that machine and check if it's still under warranty, because maybe this is something that a third party needs to be managing because it's still under their warranty conditions. Now, when I hit OK, it's also going to check if there's been any other breakdowns reported in the system, because we don't want to be creating duplicates essentially. If there has been an additional breakdown recorded, we might talk to the customer about, have you spoke to anyone else in our business about this breakdown? And you want to make sure that you divert them back through to that person potentially as well. So you're not really duplicating that information in the system. And when I hit OK, you can see here it's automatically pulled through the company name, phone number, the site information on where the equipment is meant to be at, and also the contact for that customer as well. So really, just by typing in one thing here, we've pulled through all this information automatically. Now, if we don't do it like this, we might be going to multiple systems to try and find this information and putting it into a spreadsheet or putting it into multiple systems, sending it over to somebody else. So it's really trying to reduce the time it takes to pull this information together, confirm with the customer over the phone that this is all the correct information, and then start recording what is actually the reason for the service call, the reason for the breakdown. So I can say here, machine is not starting. And you would obviously try and document as much information as possible. So then when your service team are trying to respond to this, they've got as much information from a first response point of view. Now we can also start recording the reasons and categories for the breakdown as well. So I can say it's a repair job, for example, and then the categories will derive from repairs automatically. And all this configuration can be set up in the system. So I can say it's a mechanical issue. Now, when we're actually doing the work, maybe the technician that's going to be actually doing the job might need some specific skills to complete the work. So we can actually allocate these skills out as well. So maybe I can say it needs to be a mechanic level 1, for example. And you can see here when I choose mechanic level 1, it's going to show me all of the mechanics that have that particular skill set. Now, maybe when we're talking to this customer, the customer has alerted us that to actually come on site to do the repair, you're going to have an induction completed. So maybe what we can do is we can actually set up the inductions as skills required to work on these particular machines as well. So I can say Parkway site induction. And what it's going to do is it will filter only the mechanics that have the Parkway site induction skill set. So that's the best person for the job. Because really what we want to try and do is we want to try and do a first time fix and allocate it to the right person at the right time to make sure that they can get to the job faster. So improving those response times. Now I can choose to allocate this directly from here, but what I can also do is I could choose the date that actually maybe I want the work done. So if it's a breakdown, really you want to do it ASAP. So I can put in here 0D, for example. Or if it's not as urgent, I can say it needs to be done in 2 days. So 2 days, for example. And I can say the time that we need to come on site, because maybe the customer says you can only come on site during certain periods of the day. So when I hit save, it's going to update the status as unallocated. Now you also see here that it's pulled through automatically what the next service date for the machine is as well. Because maybe as part of this breakdown, we want to work with our service department to see, is there any major repairs that need to be done? And maybe we should combine these jobs together to really create more efficiencies. So it's little things like that that will really streamline those processes, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to respond to a breakdown, send somebody out there, do the work, they come back. Next minute, you're also organizing your service manager to send out and do a major repair at the same time. Bring the machine back, send them a new machine and do the repair once, which save a lot of time and money doing that process. Now, because it's been unallocated, we can also look at all the unallocated work and all the work in progress. We can do that by going through into this screen called the technician allocation screen. So we can see here that it's showing my unallocated jobs on the top, it's showing my technicians over here on the right, and it's showing me my work in progress down the bottom here. So I can actually see things that are overdue as well. So automatically it's going to highlight it in red if it's overdue. And if I wanted to, I can double click on this and it will take me back to that particular service call as well. Now, what I can do is I can actually highlight this line here and choose a mechanic and drag them onto that job. Once I do that, I can also put through what the estimated hours might be to actually complete the work as well. When I do that, it's actually going to move it down to the work in progress. So I can see everything that's currently in progress, and I can see the things that are currently outstanding. For the things that are outstanding and also for the things in work in progress, I also have a range of information. So maybe if this job is overdue, I can call Chris Nagy. I've got his phone number here automatically. I've got his address as well. And I can speak to him and say, hey, I noticed that this job is overdue. I just wanted to plan what the new time might be for us to come out and actually do that service work. You can update that information on the fly and then plan the right technicians to do the job as well. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is when I allocate that work out, if we go back down to this machine, this job here, I can right click and I can view the service call and I can view the service job. So the service call is where all the information is recorded. Now the service job is where the technician is going to be recording their parts and labor. And they could be doing that by manually entering into the system, or they could be doing that by recording on a mobile device. If I go back into the call, we can see here that it's automatically updated the date allocated and the time allocated. So what this does is this allows us to start looking at our metrics in terms of our turnaround times. So we can see the date entered and the date time, the allocated time, the date attended, and then the date fixed. So every time, let's say the mechanic gets on site and they use a mobile device and they confirm that they've arrived on site, it'll update that time automatically. Let's say that we actually post the job and the work has been completed, it'll update that stat automatically. Then you can start looking at to see, why is it taking certain mechanics longer to complete the similar types of jobs as other work? And then really talk to your customers about setting expectations to say, look, this is our response time, or we can guarantee an uptime of whatever the scenario might be in terms of your expectations and your KPIs with your customers. So it's a really good way of automatically recording this information and having that available for service managers to make those decisions. And that just about wraps up today's session. Following the webinar, there'll be a short survey. This will give you the opportunity to request future topics and also provide general feedback. I look forward to seeing everyone in a future Baseplan Presents webinar.